story was inspired when many years ago, Irish crime writer Ken Bruen's local town council meant to vote him a certificate of congratulations on the success of the guards. Instead, they voted him a certificate of condolences, which is normally given to someone who's died. So that's where this came from. Now my story, Ken Bruen is dead, alas. There was no one in the shabby hotel's fourth floor hallway when Detective Sergeant Charlie Nacker carefully opened the stairway door. He beckoned to Gallivan, his partner, and together they eased down the corridor. Halfway to the end, a door stood ajar. Nacker pointed at it and held up 3 fingers. Gallivan nodded, and together they counted silently. 1, 2, 3. Nacker kicked the door aside, and Gallivan burst into the room, sweeping the corners with his pistol. After a moment, he said, "Clear," and Nacker joined him. There was barely space enough for the two of them, and the dead man was white-haired and frail and sat on the floor, slumped against the wall. Whiskey bottles lay scattered around him. Gallivan turned one over with his foot and peered at the label. "Jameson's," he said, "and all empty, worse luck." "Poor sod," said Nacker. "The super was right. It's murder for sure." "What's that he's holding?" said Gallivan. Nacker bent down and pried it from the man's hand. "Must be valuable. He's not wanting to give it up. Let go, damn you." It came free, and he nearly toppled over. "Shite," he said. "It's just a plaque, some sort of award. Oh, look, Seamus, they've spelled your name wrong." Suddenly, the man on the floor lifted his head, eyes rolling wildly. "He's trying to say something," said Gallivan, leaning close. "What is it, Nacker?" said Nacker. "Quick, what did he say?" "I can't be sure, but it sounded like, 'Bugger off, you bastards, I'm not dead.'" "Denial. God, I hate to see a man suffer so." Nacker cocked his pistol. "What's that you're doing then?" said Gallivan. "Putting it out of his... It's the kindest way." Knacker's eyes brimmed with sadness. "I hate to see it come to this." "Oh, bollocks, Charlie, you've seen off 3 in the last 2 months. I was only helping them the way they were headed. Except that maybe that one in the Clarach. The busted nose. Aye. I suppose he might have pulled through, but who'd want to go through life looking like that, eh? Listen, Charlie, you can't keep doing this. I know you're an angel of mercy, but you're going to get discharged over it." "Is that your opinion of me, that I deny a dying man his last wish?" "If you don't shoot him, is he really a dying man?" "Aye," said Nacker. "Who among us knows the number of our days?" Gallivan rolled his eyes. "Christ, just make it quick." The shot rang out, deafening in the enclosed space. Nacker glanced at his partner. "What's that you said?" "Got him right in the liver," said Gallivan. "Tough way to go." Nacker kicked aside one of the bottles. "That's where he needed it most, I'd say." His cell phone played the first notes of boy, and he plucked it from his pocket. "Nacker, here." He listened for a moment, then gestured to Gallivan. "Inspector Dinwiddie," he whispered. They held the phone between their ears. "Nacker, where the bloody hell are you? The constable is waiting. Says he's got a dead body. Hotel Kelly, room 414. You haven't stopped off for a quick one, have you?" Gallivan and Nacker glanced up in unison. The numbers on the door read 441. No, sir. We're outside now. I believe the killer may still be about. We've just heard a shot." "Well, get in there and find out, damn you." "Aye, sir." Nacker rang off, and they stood there looking at each other. "What do we do?" said Gallivan. Nacker laid his arm across his partner's shoulders. "My friend," he said, "let's save that for another time. Right now, we'll take a stroll to 414. He pulled the door firmly shut behind them. They returned 2 hours later, having disposed of the case at the far end of the hall. An unlicensed poker tournament ended prematurely when one of the players, an American tourist, got a hand with 3 aces, all spades. A cordial disagreement ensued, and as the dealer fled, the American shot him squarely in the buttocks, which left Gallivan and Nacker back in 441, staring down at a body that was indubitably beyond help. "What now?" said Gallivan. Nacker rubbed his chin. Something's different. Something's changed." Suddenly his eyes grew wide. "James, weren't all these bottles empty?" The 5th of whiskey clutched in the pale fingers was still 1/3 full. "Bloody hell," said Gallivan. "He's alive and still thirsty." He pressed his fingers to the prone finger's throat. "For fuck's sake, Charlie, what do we do?" Charlie thought for a minute, then pulled the blanket off the bed. "First, we figure out where he got that bottle, and if there's any more, then we'll dump him." "The river?" "It worked for Rasputin," said Nacker. Later, as they walked back to their car, Nacker said, "A dirty business, but now it's done. Care for a pint?" "Are you joking?" said Gallivan. "I'm in for a gallon." They climbed in and Knacker cranked the engine. Looking out at the dark water flowing by, he said, "Poor bloke, that's the last we'll hear of him." When they arrived for the shift the next day, Inspector Dinwiddie stepped out of his office. "Gentlemen," he said, "I'd like a word." "What's up, Chief?" said Knacker. "You two handled the shooting at Hotel Kelly last night?" "Yes, sir. A dispute about the proper composition of a deck of cards. It was an American, so naturally it ended in gunfire." Dinwiddie nodded. "I suppose I should be happy no one was killed. Did you see any other suspicious activity?" The detectives considered this. "No, sir," said Knacker. "Nothing to report." "You didn't, for example, see anyone abducting a guest from just down the hall?" "Should I have, sir?" "It would stand to reason, since the occupant of room 441 this morning was found clinging to the anchor chains of a garbage scow and shouting for help. He kept saying over and over, 'The Knacker got me.'" Knacker worked a look of surprise onto his face. "You think he was referring to me?" "Don't make me bloody laugh. Of course he was. You're the only lucky he didn't die. Not everyone can survive a bullet to the liver." Gallivant said, "Sir, how did he survive?" "Here's the report," said Dinwiddie. "Look at it yourself." Gallivant studied it. "Decades of alcohol use. Consistency of old leather. Nearly bulletproof. Sir, this seems to indicate that drinking saved this man's life." "I'll drink to that," said Knacker. Dinwiddie glared. "You're both damned lucky. Gallivant, I'm finding you a new partner before Knacker warps you completely." "And Knacker, when was the last time you visited the chaplain?" Knacker smiled. "After every shift, sir." "Good Lord," said Dinwiddie. "No wonder the poor man trembles so."